In this video tutorial, we're going to be talking about how to change the content within the articles that are contained within your RoofWebs website. Now in video 1, we showed you how to log into the back of your site. As you can see, I'm already logged into the back end. The very first thing I want to look at is that, remind you from the first video that every page that's contained in your website is called an article. So when you click on Content and Article Manager, we'll let this load, and it shows a complete list of all the pages that are within your website. Now within the demo there are going to be some that aren't going to show up on your website. It really depends on which site you actually purchase from us. Some of them, like the Platinum and Elite, are going to have many more pages than what you would see here on the Bronze sample. So first things first, we have a list over on the left-hand column that shows all of the page titles, and those correspond with what they are on the front end of the site. So if you click on Services and load that page, then it's just the simple word Services. When you go to the back end, it's the simple word Services there as well. So we'll open the Services page since we have those opened on both ends. Now, what you'll see here at the very top, you have the title. Now this field is required. You have to have a title for any page. You have a category, and yours is probably going to have different categories than what are listed here. You've also got a status, whether it's published, unpublished, archived, or trashed. We'll get into those in depth later. But if you want this page or article to show on the front end of your website, it always has to be published. It is given public access so that any member of the public who visits the site is able to actually see that. Excuse me. Now on this site over here, your status is probably already going to be set for you. You need to categorize any article that you actually create, or you can leave it in the category that it's already in. There's a reason for that we'll get into in a more advanced tutorial. Language should just always be set to all, and featured should always be set to no, with the exception of one article that shows up on the very first page of your site. That is a featured article. Now if you were to change this to yes, then it would show up on the very first page of your site. Would probably blow it apart as far as the look and feel of the front end, so you don't really want to do that until you get into really knowing the back end of a Joomla website and how it works. Now, this little section here that is just above your article text has all the little function buttons that you can actually utilize to change the content that's within this content box. This content box, anything in this, will actually show up in the article text on the front end of your site on any given page. Obviously, if I take this and I highlight the very first part of this sentence, I can click bold and it automatically bolds it. We don't want to do that, so we're going to unbold it by highlighting it again and clicking it again. The same goes for italics and underline. You can add all of these options in just by highlighting the text that you want to do that to. You can click on that sentence, you can write justify it, and it'll show up on the front page right justified. Now you can also, I'm just going to hit the enter key and bring that down. So we're going to type some test text, and I recommend that you follow along with me if you can actually do this. Highlight the test text. We're going to center it. Let's change it from, well, get into a little explanation here. Anything that is on the page is typically set in paragraph text. Now sometimes you want what's called heading text, and we've already set up your heading sizes. So if you choose heading 1, that's probably going to be your largest text. It'll make it very large, very obvious to the user. Heading 2, heading 3, I recommend that you actually play with these so that you can learn what they look like. We pre-designed these with your site so that they correspond with the website, so that regardless of which one you choose, they look okay with it typically, but you can kind of play with that and see which one you like best. Typically, when it's bold text or large text, anything that has any emphasis to it, we choose heading 3. Now, font family and font size, you really don't ever need to mess with these. I typically don't use those at all. I use my headings because those are actually set within the style sheet. This styles button, you really don't ever need to use that at all. Now, let's go ahead and we're going to save this, and up here in the top right corner you have save, save and close, save and new, save as copy, and close. Now your edition of this website may have a little different options up here because these change periodically as Joomla gets updated. So your version may have something very similar. They all do about the same thing. Now if I save this, I'm going to go ahead and click it. It's going to save it, and it leaves the article open so that I can continue to make changes to it. Now if I go to the front end and I refresh this page, you're going to see that our test text showed up at the top in heading 3. And so that's the size. You can see that it's much larger than the paragraph text. You don't want to bold everything. Typically when you're designing something, you want to make sure that you don't have everything just gargantuan on the page so that the reader feels like you're just screaming at them. But that's it's up to you how you want to change the text on your website. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to change this back to a paragraph text, and I'm going to show you how to insert a link. Now, if I want to make this text a link to something else, let's say I want to link it directly to the RoofWebs website. So I would just type in http www.roofwebs.com, and then you can target. You can either open it in this window, you can open it in a new window, open in parent window, and top frame. Now what I recommend is that you play with those a little bit. The top 2 are the ones that you will be using most often. If you open it in this window, then it leaves your website. If you open it in a new window, it leaves your website, but it leaves a copy of your website open so that your visitor or your user is still there. Now all you would have to do is click insert and you're ready to go. I'm going to click cancel and get rid of that. Let's see, the colors for text and things like that are all up here. Feel free to play with these buttons, see what they do, and it'll give you a much better idea. Now you can obviously use lists, you can do lots and lots of different things. So we're going to delete the test text, we're going to put this back like it was. Now let's say for example I have been working on this for a while. Get in the habit, as you're working in this, or typing text into this box, get in the habit of actually going up here and clicking this save button. Each one of our websites has a built-in security feature, and it's absolutely necessary on the internet, that logs you out after a certain amount of time. The reason for that is so that a hacker can't capture your session and take over your website. Because if you were to leave it and it's just an open connection to your site, there is a chance that they could actually capture that session and take it over. They could go in and change your usernames and passwords and that sort of thing. So after about 15 minutes, it's going to time out. It's going to log everyone out of the site. So if you, let's say for example, your phone rings and you get up and you walk away from your desk, I definitely recommend that before you do so, you click this save button so that you can go back to this article and it will have the changes that you've just made to it. So get in the habit of using that. Now these buttons up here in the top right corner of the page are going to be your best friends as you're working in the articles within your website. Save is obvious because we've used it. You're going to click on that one and it actually it saves it into the database and leaves you on the page to continue editing. Save and close does just that. It saves the article and it takes you back to the article manager with that complete list of articles. Save and new allows you to save that article and then it opens a brand new one so that you can add a brand new one to it. Now let's say save and copy you're rarely ever going to use, and as many websites as we develop, we rarely ever touch that button, so it's not actually necessary to do so. Now one of the things that you may be worried about is going in and making a bunch of mistakes. Let's say, for example, you're editing your article and you're doing great, and all of a sudden something goes awry and you've made an enormous mistake and you don't know how to go back and fix it. Sometimes it's better to just start over. And this close button is actually better for starting over. If you click this close button, it doesn't save anything into the database, so your mistakes do not get saved. Although the good things about that may not get saved either, so use this sparingly and only when it's necessary. If you're worried about it, you can copy and paste. Go in and highlight all of the text in here, and then Control-C if you're using a PC, Command-C if you're using a Mac, and then you can go back in later and paste it back in there. So you could copy and paste the actual good part of it. That's right. But if you've made that mistake and you just as soon go back to the original way it was and start over, click the close button. It takes you back to the article manager. Then you can go back down, you can choose the services and open it again, and then you're ready to go, and it's opened the same way. Now, there are several things about this page that you don't ever want to mess with. Don't ever mess with the created date, the start publishing, or finish publishing. We will cover this in an advanced tutorial, but you really need to know what you're doing if you're messing with anything in this box. Now, within the article options, you have some article options in there. There is a global option also. Typically, these will not change anything about your article, so you have to change those globally, which again is an advanced feature. Show publishing, images and links, you don't need to do anything in there. Now the metadata options, you can type in a meta description here and your keywords there. This is typically useful if you are really optimizing for something specific in your area, or if you want to override the global keywords and meta description. Each one of the articles in this, it's an extremely powerful tool. You can go in and change it specifically for each article. I recommend that you do that as you start making changes to your website. Change your meta description, change your meta keywords to match so that the text that's in that article actually makes sense with those. We're going to go ahead and close out of this one. That's pretty much it for editing an article. We will do another video on starting a brand new one. In other words, adding a blog post. That'll come in a subsequent video. Remember that you're using Mozilla Firefox when logging into the back end of your website. And remember that you should always log out every time you're finished. I'm going to click the log out button right now, and it takes you to your Joomla administration login. If you have any questions about this video, email us at sales@RoofWebs.com or give us a call at 800-761-3560.